So we're going to carry on with looking at converting between kilometres and miles, which we started last week. Okay, but we're going to look at doing it in a slightly different way. So we're going to be looking at conversion graphs instead of actually having to work out the different calculations. Okay, before we get on to that though, let's just do a quick exercise to remind us about simple calculations. So on the screen you've got some distances in metres or kilometres. Okay, and I'd like you to convert them to the other unit of measure. Okay, so remember there's 1,000 metres in 1 kilometre. So to go from metres to kilometres, we need to divide by 1,000. To go from kilometres to metres, we need to multiply by 1,000. Okay, so have a go at those. Pause the video and I'll come back with the answers. So hopefully you didn't find those too tricky. Just got to be careful with those zeros in a couple of them, especially C there. So 1.06 kilometres is 1,060 metres, and then G, 1,050 metres is 1.05 kilometres. Just got to be a little bit careful with those ones. Okay. Second set of conversions are between centimetres, millimetres and metres. So remember 10 millimetres in a centimetre, 100 centimetres in a metre, and if you look at the bottom you're asked to go from metres to millimetres. Okay, so that's again 1,000, so there's 1,000 millimetres in 1 metre. Okay, so if you have a go at those ones, again pause the video and I'll come back with the answers. So hopefully they weren't too bad again. Just those bottom two, like I said, 1,000 millimetres in a metre, so 5 metres is obviously 5,000 millimetres. 12.6 metres would be 12,600 millimetres. Okay, hopefully you got on okay with those. Right, so conversion graphs then. Why do we need to use them? How do they help us? Well, they're a lot quicker and they're a lot simpler than the calculations that we looked at last week. It's still handy that you know how to use that, okay, but conversion graphs are another thing you can use. Okay, there's not really any maths involved in it at all. It's just dependent on you reading the graph accurately. Okay, so remember we have metric and we have imperial units. So it's not just between miles and kilometres you can get conversion graphs. You can get them between kilograms and pounds, and then litres and pints and things as well. Okay, so in this country we use a mixture of measurements, so that's why being able to convert is handy, and then other countries use different ones as well. So what does a conversion graph look like? It looks like that. Okay, now you can see we've got our normal layout for our graph. So we've got our axes, kilometres is on the y-axis going vertically, miles is on the x-axis going horizontally. Okay, now if you remember there's 5 miles is roughly equal to 8 kilometres. Okay, and you can see that on the chart. If I find 5 miles and follow it up, you can see it's roughly equal to 8 kilometres. Okay, all this chart does is take it and is made it over longer distances. Okay, so it's gone up to 50 miles, so 10 times 5, and then 10 times 8 is 80, so 50 miles is roughly equal to 80 kilometres. Okay, so if we want to go from miles to kilometres, all we need to do is find our distance along the x-axis, so along the bottom, and then follow that up until we meet our line. Okay, so if I was looking at 40 miles, you can see I find 40 miles along the bottom, follow it up to the line, and then go across and see how many kilometres that is roughly equal to. So it would be 64 kilometres. Okay. Obviously, if we were going the other way, we would start on our y-axis. So from kilometres to miles. Okay, so we find our distance along the y-axis, so we've got 20 kilometres. Follow it to our line. Okay, go down, and we would have 12 miles. Sorry. Okay, so 20 kilometres is roughly equal to 12 miles. Okay, so like I said earlier, there's no real maths involved. It's just reading the conversion graph accurately. Okay, so see if you can have a go at these two. So 30 kilometres to miles, and then 35 miles to kilometres. Okay, so again, pause the video and have a go at those two. Now I'll come back with the answers. Right, so if you've read the graph carefully, okay, you should have 30 kilometres equals 19 miles. Okay, so we go across from our 30 kilometres, and then we go down to find how many miles it is. Okay. The other one is 35 miles. So this time we would start along the bottom because we're starting with miles. Okay. And then we follow it up to the line and across, and it takes us to 56 kilometres. So 35 miles is approximately 56 kilometres. Okay. Hopefully you shouldn't find this too tricky. So on the screen there, I've put the conversion graph on for you to see. And you've got two sets of conversions to do. Top one's miles to kilometres, and the bottom one's kilometres to miles. Okay. So you can print this off if you want to use the graph. Now I know not everyone's got a printer. I'm hoping if you can't print it off, it's still clear enough on the screen for you to use. Okay, you just got to be really careful when you're following your lines up. Okay, and if you need a break, if you're sending your eyes a bit funny, then make sure you have a break. Okay, but you should be able to do it off of the chart there. Okay. Now I think there's a couple just towards the bottom might be halfway between, and if you've got one of those, okay, then you know that 0.5 is a half. Okay, so if it's halfway between say 40 and 41 miles, you know it's 40.5. Okay, there's only a couple of those. Most of them line up exactly with one of the corresponding values. Okay, so have a go at doing those conversions for me, and then if you want to send your answers through, I can tell you how you got on. Okay, right, shouldn't find that too difficult, so good luck, and I look forward to seeing what you do. Okay.